All right. We are here. We're here. We're here. Welcome, 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 everyone. I am super pumped for tonight. We're starting a little bit earlier than usual. I know it's at 7 o'clock in some places, 7:15 and others, but we're here. We're here, guys. And I look forward to all we have to share tonight. Welcome, welcome, my beautiful friends. I'm gonna pop into the chat. Please let me know that you can hear me, that you can see me. Okay, there we go. Give me some thumbs up, give me some hearts, all the things. Let me know that you're here. I am super stoked tonight. I have an extra special um treat, extra special guest, all the things. I'm just looking forward to it, guys. So I am popping into the chat right now. I want to make sure that, let's see. Okay, we're not going to do the chat overlay per se, but nevertheless, my dear friends, welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you who are joining me on, there we go. Those of you who are joining me in the Facebook group, welcome. Those of you who are joining me in the let's see, on YouTube, welcome. Those of you who are joining me on LinkedIn, welcome, welcome everyone. Tonight, guys, I just want to let you know that we are doing a launch. We are launching our Facebook group. We're relaunching it. And this was in honor of some of the goals that we had in mind for 2024. And for those of you who have not read The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz, highly recommend it. Highly recommend. This is recommended reading for 2024, The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz. It is helping me to get centered and really laser focused on my goals because I can get a little bit scattered, guys. Okay, so I'm getting laser focused. We're doing the things, we're doing the one thing, we're doing the two things, and just making sure that all of our investing strategy, all of our activity is in full alignment of our vision. Okay, so what is our vision? And as I speak on our vision, we're gonna do the big unveiling of the Facebook group, my dear friends. Okay, so I'm gonna keep an eye out for that because I want to make sure that we are updating it as we go. Okay, great. It looks like we're live in all the places. Okay, so for those of you who are tapping in, thank you, thank you, thank you. So what is our vision? As many of you know that I'm a pharmacist by training. My husband got to retire from a very stressful psychology practice due to us uh, coming together and deciding, you know what, we're going to do this real estate thing. And I was able to retire after him thereafter. And I know that's a question that I get asked a lot in reference to those who are looking to harness the power of real estate, leverage real estate, and they have a spouse that is a little bit nervous that's objecting at the moment. Okay. So that is the power of real estate. But with that vision, guys, it started off with okay, I want a little bit less of a stressful situation for myself. It expanded into okay, I want to pick up my kids from school one day a week, and then it expanded further and further and further, and now I am at the point that we're looking to create the most comprehensive, um, a globally recognized coaching program that not only relieves our fellow hardworking medical professionals from the burnout they're feeling with their day to day, but empowers them. It empowers them to enhance their financial wellness through investing wisely. And so, in order to facilitate this, guys, we're going all in on our avatar. We're getting laser focused because I know that this will enhance our next level vision. My next level vision, I've shared it with some of you, is to help build sustainable orphanages in Haiti, in Bolivia. We're putting women through med school in Haiti as well. So my vision is out of this world. But in order to make it happen, we're getting really, really laser focused and strategic. And so, all that to say is we are doubling down, and the great unveiling has happened. Our Facebook group is now updated. and it is changed to Doctors Mastering Luxury Real Estate Investing, Short-Term and Mid-Term Rentals. So super, super excited about that. And it looks like some of the terms rentals was cut off. So we will edit that. I didn't realize there was a character limit. So so this is live, guys. This is happening in real time, okay? This is happening in real time. So I absolutely love it. So for those of you who are in the group, you will see that we have updated the name of our group. And the goal, again, is I really want to show the world what it looks like to create a community of doctors who are self-reliant, who understand what it means to be financially self-reliant, who understand what it means to have cash flowing real estate assets. I think with that, we're able to completely change the trajectory of the world, and really empower, the healthcare system that, we are often facing, whether it's moral injury or we are often trying to decide what direction to go in. So that is why we're changing it. For those of you who are not doctors inside of our group, know that we love you to the moon and back. We're not kicking anyone out at all, but just letting you know that I have to focus on the one thing in order to really, really expand that and make sure that we are on the right trajectory. So again, welcome everyone. We'll continue to share with you all of the updates, all that we plan on offering inside of the group. I am just super, super excited. We've been asking questions. I'm going to give you guys the heads up. We're going to continue to provide value on a weekly or bi-weekly basis inside of the group. So the training that we're doing tonight is just the kickoff. We're going to continue to add new trainings based on the needs of our community. Okay, we're starting there. That's number one. Number two, we're going to ask questions, guys. We're going to ask questions and ask you guys, first of all, where are you struggling, so that we're ensuring that the trainings and the value that we're providing you is going to help enhance what it is that you're doing in the real estate investing space. And then third, last but not least, if there is programming or an event or a resource that we have available that makes sense for you, we're going to be offering that in the group. Okay, so let me know if that is cool with you. You're going to get value, actionable tips, video lessons, behind the scenes, all the things, resources, ways to collaborate. We're going to ask questions of you, ask how's everyone doing on these real estate streets. And last but not least, we're going to be offering our resources. We're going to be offering our programs. So let me know. Let me know. All right. So from there, thank you guys for chiming in. I love the interaction. I love the responses, guys. I live for interaction. I live for responses with each and every one of you. All right. So guys, stick around to the end. Like I said, I have some extra special surprises. We've got prizes. We've got bonuses. We've got a special tax training towards the end. And Ryan is telling me he is at the ready. He's ready for us, ready when we are. All right. So without, let's see, hang on. I do want to take a few questions and comments. Okay. I'm getting some thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, so Dawn is saying that she's waiting for the class. Dawn, the class is happening right now. Let's see. Dawn, I hope you can see it, my friend. Okay, there. Guys, let me know in the chat that you can see it. Feel free to say hello. Okay, there's Joan. Joan Phillips, I see you, my friend. Hello. Welcome. All right, who else? I'm hoping Dawn can jump in and see as well. It is all good. Okay, there's this Barbara. Welcome. There's this Felicia. Welcome. Okay, fantastic. Awesome. So we're live on a few platforms. So I just want to make sure that everyone is in. and it looks like I may be frozen, which is fine. I'm going to try to unfreeze myself. Hang on. Okay, there I go. I should be unfrozen now, hopefully. All right, so guys, I want to dive into a couple of things that I wanted to cover before we head into the full on tax talk. All right, so why is it important for us to cover taxes? Okay, so it's really, really important for us to cover taxes, guys, because that is one of the biggest levers that we can pull in our real estate investing strategy. Gone are the days where the answer is for us to just full on work full time, then overtime shifts, and then just see the fruit of our labor. In order to avoid, all of that hard work and not getting a return on energy, not getting a return on effort, is by pulling the tax lever. It's not always how much you make, guys, it's how much you get to keep. The power of real estate investing lies within the amount that you get to keep. Okay, so we're gonna dive into that. I'm gonna bring onto the stage Ryan Baking in a little bit, and he's going to share with us what does that look like in terms of the short-term rental opportunity as well as the midterm rental opportunity that is underway. And at the end, he's going to talk to you a little bit about the breakdown. When I talk about taxes, oftentimes we're just thinking about, okay, let's go ahead and file our taxes. That's it. Well, that is not the case, guys. There are so many levers in there, and working with the experts, the tax strategist, is what's going to get us to where we want to go. Okay, so we'll be diving into that shortly. We're going to dive into how we're able to launch and expand our short-term rental and midterm rental portfolio by leveraging as little down as possible. Okay, so for those of you who aren't well acquainted, what I'm talking about is oftentimes I see a lot of members inside of our communities who are looking to do these real estate deals where, say, they're doing fix and flipping, or they're doing a strategy that requires a lot of capital upfront, a lot of money upfront. For me, guys, I leverage as little down as possible. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know your specific financial situations, but for me, it was really important for me to hold on to as much cash as possible. So, in other words, cash reserves. Our very first property, we used a down payment amount of about $19,000 to get started. That was our very first rental. We use a 10% down loan. It was a little bit less than 10% because we worked with a local credit union, and we were able to purchase our first luxury short-term rental property. So for example, at the time, back in 2018, this was a $290,000 home. That was the purchase price. We purchased it with a down payment of $19,000. Yesterday's numbers are not today's numbers at all. We updated it. It took us about another 10 to 15,000 to update it, and we were able to furnish it for about $10,000. So all in, we were at about, I want to say $40,000, right under $40,000, all in to launch this property. How do we come up with this down payment? Well, we were saving up from our W-2. We got some bonus checks from work, and for that first property, we did not take out a second home loan. We did for the following property. We tapped into an old 401k, and we got the penalty there, but we were able to take advantage of tax strategy that helped us out there as well. And that's how we're able to come up with that initial $40,000 all in. And so that was the power of leveraging this lending product that was a little bit less than 10% down, and just really launching, versus I saw, like, I was in an environment where a lot of other investors, they were leveraging a similar amount of capital to take down a $40,000 property that needed an extensive amount of work. And that extensive amount of work, guys, cost more money. It delayed their ability to launch. It delayed their ability to create a revenue stream. So for me, it made sense to just find a property that needed a little bit of lipstick. I was going to be out of pocket the same amount that they were going to be out of pocket, but I was able to launch and start creating a revenue stream within 30 days. Okay. So all this to say is when we were first starting out, I looked at buying a property that was $17,000, that was $20,000, $30,000. And I realized really fast that, you know what, I cannot manage my whole W-2. I have a whole husband with 2 kids and 3 dogs, and just manage an entire fix and flip project simultaneously. Okay. I wasn't going to be able to manage it all. I needed to figure out what is my investing strategy. And for me, I determined, you know what, instead of we buy ugly houses, I'm going to be the we buy pretty houses girl and focus on properties and projects that would not take me more than 30 days to stand up. And that's where we started. So our very first rental generated $6,000 within 30 days of closing on that property. Like that was, to me, that was it. I was like, okay, this is it. How do I rent and repeat this? How do I do more of this? Okay, so guys, let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Let me know if you are dialed in. I want to make sure. I want to make sure that you're picking up what I am putting down, because I'm giving you the backstory, the backstory of where we were and where we are going. Okay. All right. Okay. I see Vanessa's in the chat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So that is the backstory, guys. And so I said to myself, okay, how do I do this again? So this particular property, the one that was $17,000 that I went to invest in, was all the way in Alabama. I'm in Georgia. This particular property is in Georgia, south of Atlanta, and a little bit of a higher income, higher cost of living area. Again, this was back in 2018 when we started. The second property is one that was in that same neighborhood, just probably 2 miles away. Okay, same market, same area. And I determined, you know what, I want to do this again. How do I do this again? And I was able to leverage a little bit more of a creative strategy to purchase this property. At that point, I was working with a real estate coach. Shout out to my girl Jennifer, who's on the mastermind call with me a little bit earlier. And we took down the information. My coach walked me through the power of mentorship. The coach walked me through how to negotiate this property in the midst of so many offers. I had won the bid on this particular property. And this is a property that I stated to myself, okay, this is going to need a little bit more work than a previous property. And once we set it up, I stated to myself, you know what, this will require a different cleaning team, but because it was a larger property, the level of clean is going to need, it really is going to need to be a little bit more elevated. And we're looking at working with a different cleaner at the time. And for those of you who are well acquainted in this short-term rental, mid-term rental realm, your cleaners can either make or break your business. So it's really, really important to get the cleaning team dialed all the way in. Okay. So we've been through a lot of cleaners until we found our top tier cleaning team. But I said to myself, okay, this property is one that I need to leverage for a 30-day stay. I'm going to list it on the platform for 30 days minimum. And once it is listed for 30 days, that's going to give me enough time to find the right cleaners to really get this property launched, and a little bit more of a slower a slower method as I find the cleaners that I really that will really match our business model. And excuse me, guys, this cough is just not wanting me to be great. All right, so this is the property, guys, that you, spoiler alert, may have seen on Netflix on the episode of Buy My House. We launched this property for a 30-night minimum. And at that point, I said to myself, okay, how do I list this property on a tool that will ensure that it's priced at the peak possible pricing every single month? And I turned on an AI tool that I use to price all of our properties. Okay. And this AI tool, typically it either overshoots or undershoots. And I was expecting it to not be perfect, but I was ready to do what I needed to do in order to ensure that this property is calibrated correctly. You got to calibrate, right? And so when we launched and turned on the AI tool, since the first property was generating around $6,000 per, let me look and make sure the mic is fine, $6,000 per month, I was thinking to myself, okay, maybe, just maybe this property would generate around $8,000 per month or $9,000 per month, or so on and so forth. Dare I hope for $10,000 per month? No, that would be unheard of. So all this to say, I was not expecting that at all. I said to myself, you know what? Yeah, 8,000 would be great. $9,000 would be awesome. $10,000, there's no way under the sun anyone can afford $10,000 per month. Okay, so that's a non-starter, not happening. So without further ado, guys, I turned on the dynamic pricing tool, fully expecting to have to turn it back off to train it. When I turned it on, it listed the property for $28,000 per month. And I said to myself, okay, I know this tool was out of control when you first launch it. Again, AI, right? But this is completely out of control. So what did I do? Well, here's what I did. I was about to turn it off to train it and calibrate it now down to about 10,000. And then it would, go plus or minus around the $10,000 a month price point. Well, it got booked just like that. And so for those of you who are sitting in the back, come back to me. It got booked. It literally got booked. Okay. So let me see. I'm going to go into the group. I want to see some reactions. Give me, if you're still here with me, give me some reactions. And for those of you who are very familiar with this story, let me know. I still want to see some reactions because I never want to get to a point where I'm not amazed. Okay. Yes. I never want to get to a point where I am not amazed. Yes. Kathy, I see you. Stuart's like, whoa. Elena, I see you. Lorraine, yes. Lorraine, it is so good to see you, friend. I never want to get to the point where, you ever feel like, and I'm a believer, I feel like, oh my gosh, when God does something just out of control, amazing for you, and then a year later you forgot about it. I never want to forget this, guys. I never want to forget it. I never want to forget it. And that's why I tell this story. I never want to forget just how shocked I was. And for me, that was the paradigm shift because in my mind and in my heart, I was thinking to myself, who in the world has $10,000 to spend on 30 days of rent, let alone $28,000? So it got booked. And I had to ask myself, okay, so who is spending this amount of revenue? And it turns out corporations, insurance companies, the film industry, and so on and so forth. This is a house, guys. The mortgage is $2,500 a month. Just and I remember asking myself that night, because at that point, 25, your entire year's mortgage is paid off with one booking. And I asked myself, okay, in my mind, I was going to calibrate and train the AI to list the property at $10,000 per month max, tippy top. More than likely, I would have trained it to list the property at $9,000 per month. 9,000. That's where I was. That's where I was headed. That's my mindset. And where does that come from? That comes from me, little girl from Haiti, poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, raised in the inner city of Miami, went on to get my doctorate, $500,000 in student loan debt, just clawing at working overtime. That is me. That is my story. So I am introducing into the algorithm my money trauma, my all the things, my hangups, all of the things. That is what I was introducing into the algorithm. But the algorithm walked in with no money trauma. The algorithm was not a little girl from Haiti. The algorithm hasn't been fighting for its life. The algorithm used the data. It saw the numbers, it saw the demand, it saw the size of the property, and it listed the property at 28K. So the property generated 28,000 that month, 22,000 the next, 15,000, 21,000, and it stayed around there. And that's when a casting company reached out to us, and AirDNA reached out to us and said, we see the numbers that you're making on the back end. We would love to invite you for this show. And that's how we landed on Netflix. No TV training, no background in media. A pharmacist just doing her thing in the workplace. This is how we ended up on Netflix. Okay. So for those of you who are asking about our story and how we got here. So all this to say is we decided, you know what, we need to get this message out. We need to share with others how we're leveraging. We started off leveraging short-term rentals, grew it into midterm rentals, expanded our portfolio outside of Georgia and the Poconos, Tennessee, the Florida Panhandle, and so on and so forth. We have properties in Arizona. We continue to expand based on our network. So we're masterminding in GoBundance. I just got back from Maui, where we were able to mastermind with Brandon Turner on his podcast, Better Life. But all this to say, guys, I want to share with you how we're leveraging our strategies to maximize our taxes. I'm not a tax expert. I always bring on the experts. I was just interviewing Yona Weiss, the king of cost segregation studies, a little bit earlier today. So we're going to bring that content to you. But all that to say, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so honored and blessed that you are here with me today. As many of you have jumped on, you realize we have updated our Facebook group. We're going all in on helping burnt out medical professionals and burnt out doctors who are looking to master real estate investing. This is the year that we master it. And we're talking luxury short-term, luxury midterm rentals, and how to get into these deals without breaking the bank. Okay. So stay with me to the end, stick with me till the end to get access to those of you who have won special prizes. I'm actually going to open up my Slack channel. They're going to announce the winners for us, and it's based on the engagement. So many of you who went on to social media to engage, you shared our link with others. Please, please, please continue to share, continue to bring in your friends. If you know any doctors who are fighting for their lives out on these real estate streets, on the W2 streets, send them our way so that we can continue to grow and expand our community. Okay. All right. Love, love, love this. All right. So without further ado, guys, I want to go into a training with you. I hate that I'm going to be sharing screen, but I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We will work it out. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do it. Hang on, hang on. Hang on, my friends. 1 second. And feel free, guys, to drop any and all questions in the chat. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, my dear friends, I want to share with you a framework. And I call this my cover framework. This is not going to be one of those forever long, boring talks. Okay, it wants me to enter a passcode. Okay, so hang on 1 second. Ryan wants to jump in. Okay. Hang on. Oh, Ryan. Ryan wants to jump in, but it's asking him to enter a passcode. Okay, all right, so they're working on it. Yay, they're working on it. Thank you, team. All right, let me know that you can see my screen. Give me a 1 in the chat if you can see it, because I want to go over with you real quick. Just 2 slides, guys. We're gonna keep it simple tonight. Just 2 I'm not gonna come on, I would say 2 or 3 slides max. I'm not gonna come on too strong tonight, guys. I promise you. Y'all know when I come on really, really strong. But you know, this is launch night. I want to keep it light, but as high impact as possible. Okay. So it's like I want it to be a win-win situation. So let me see. Oh, hang on. Okay. Okay. Let me know. Let me know. I want to see the chat though. I'm struggling to see the chat. Guys, y'all know. I said this is the year that I do better so that you guys aren't watching me fight for my life for hours and such, but it appears that, okay, I'm seeing the ones. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so this is the cover framework. So I call this cover, and this is a framework from a high level is what I use to just give you a high level on what it takes to get these mid-term rental insurance bookings. Okay. So for those of you who aren't acquainted, what is a mid-term rental insurance property booking? 3 steps, high level 3 steps. Listen, we're not going to go too deep. 3 steps. Step number one, say a family encounters a disaster. All right, water pipe burst. We saw an earthquake that happened in New York. Thankfully, there weren't casualties. We saw snowstorms. We saw hurricanes. We saw tornadoes. We saw, you know, say for instance, someone in our group today, in our mastermind, shared that someone drove through a house. Last month, same thing. Someone drove through a house. Why are people driving through houses? I don't know. So that is disaster, right? Disaster strike, step one. Step two, the house is deemed uninhabitable. If your house is exposed to the elements and someone drove through your house, you probably can't live there at the moment while it is undergoing repairs, renovations, depending on if you know what the level of the damage. Water damage, it takes about 4 months to get that remediated. Fire damage, it takes 12, 13 months to get remediated on average. Okay. Lately, because we're seeing a lot of contractors not showing up to work for whatever reason. If you're a contractor, don't come for me. All right. So that is step one. Disaster strikes. Step two, you have to move out of your house and into a rental while your property is being repaired. And step three, the homeowner's insurance is paying that rent month after month after month. Okay. So we've been doing the strategy since 2018. It is recession proof. We actually leverage, you remember that I was telling you the film industry strategy as well. But, you know, hot tip during the SAG-AFTRA strikes, my friends, guess what? Well, those bookings dried up. But guess what did not dry up is this homeowner's insurance strategy. Okay. So it doesn't matter what's going on as long as there are homes encountering disrepair and families are having to evacuate from their homes for weather-related reasons, natural catastrophes, from accidental catastrophes, this strategy will continue to hold. And I feel that our community, inside of our community, we actually serve so many individuals. We are able to serve hardworking engineers. We're able to serve hardworking cryptocurrency investors. We have a variety of individuals inside of our community, but I personally can speak to the struggles of the doctors. And that's why I said, let me get laser focused. This is who I can personally speak to because I've been there. I know the unique needs of our burnt out medical professionals who are just fighting for their lives, trying to finish their charts. Some of them are watching right now, still working on finishing their charts. I see Elena in the crowd. I hope, I'm crossing my fingers, Elena finished all her charts already. But nevertheless, these are the struggles that they're dealing with. And so for me, the midterm rental strategy was different from short-term rental because it gave me that pocket of rest. It gave me the ability to rent out my property for 6 months at a time, 7 months at a time, 8 months at a time, right? And I still was able to make a whole lot more than a long-term rental. I still was able to make as much as my short-term rental, if not more than my short-term rental in some instances. Okay. So you get that breathing room, you get that pocket of rest, right? This is why I'm all in on this strategy. Okay, so what is cover? Cover is how to ensure that you are positioning yourself to win these amazing midterm rental contracts. Okay, so it's an acronym COVER. C stands for choose wisely. What do I mean by choose wisely? You want to choose a property that is going to be in alignment with this guest that you want to serve. Choose wisely, okay? High level. It's really important that your property stands out from the crowd, that you are able to serve this clientele at the highest possible level if you're wanting to demand the revenue that we're able to demand for our properties, okay? O stands for optimize your pricing. Now, as it relates to the pricing strategy, oftentimes, even in my head, my mindset was, okay, if short-term rentals can rent for $6,000 a month and long-term rentals can rent for $2,000 a month, then midterm rentals will rent for $4,000 a month, right? That's logical, but that is not the case. We want to optimize our pricing because what we understand to be true is that the ceiling, the amount that you can rent a midterm rental out for is about 25%. There's an allowance, and it's about 25% of the property's rebuild value. Okay, we're not going to dive all the way in to that right now, but I want you to let that breathe for a second. So for example, if the property's rebuild value is 400,000, 25% is $100,000. $100,000 per claim per year. Okay. So if you have questions, drop it in the chat. Like I said, we're not going to dive all the way in, but I want to make sure that you're picking up what I'm putting down. Number 3, value add amenities. You want to incorporate the top amenities that your property can offer to this guest avatar. Okay. I'm going to spill some tea. Let me take a sip of tea and then I'm going to spill some tea. Hang on. Here's the tea, guys. Here's the deal. 70% of these guests are looking for pet-friendly accommodations, but only 30% of hosts are willing to offer pet-friendly accommodations. Okay? First and foremost. Secondly, second of all, if you were to go online to figure out, well, how much would it cost for me to board Fufu and Lulu, because everyone has 2 pets for whatever reason, it's a pretty penny. So let that breathe for a second, right? Let that breathe for a second. Number 4, exposure. A lot of times I get questioned about, well, how do you get these bookings? How do you ensure that they keep coming in? Well, you want to leverage multi-platform exposure. You want to put your property on all the platforms where these insurance companies are looking and where these guests are looking as well. And last but not least, respond rapidly. I almost said rapid response, but that's typically the airway team that's coming in to do all of the CPR and all the good stuff, but respond rapidly. So, for instance, whenever we get an inquiry, and a lot of times in business, I have learned to outsource a whole lot of things in business. Sometimes I go behind my team's back and I try to do my own thing and I mess it all the way up. Hence is why poor Ryan was struggling with getting on our call because I was trying to broker a deal behind the scenes, but I sent him the wrong link. No. I outsource almost everything in business with the exception of my revenue generating activity. My top revenue generating activity is when an inquiry comes in, I need to respond rapidly and cohesively and in a way that makes sense for the insurance company. So if we get an inquiry, nobody reads, everyone stops. I can be on vacation. I'm going to pause for a moment. Okay. Because these bookings are so high value. And with these bookings, we're able to then move forward and have someone in our property for month after month after month. Okay. And so I want to make sure that I get it right. All right. So without further ado, I want to dive into one more sheet and we're going to bring Ryan up to the stage so we can talk taxes. Okay. All right. Another thing that we're looking at this quarter, guys, we're going to lean into the tax strategies that are out there. When it comes to taxes, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you hire out your tax preparer. That is your first hire. You need to be doing that now. You want to make sure, especially if you have a W-2 and a short-term rental, or a W-2 and a midterm rental, you do not want to um, be doing your own taxes unless you're a tax, unless that's your superpower. Even then, most tax preparers, CPAs, enroll agents, they actually hire out so that someone else can look over their shoulders, so to speak. Okay. So I will say, if you can see my screen, this is my table. I'm sharing your tax support team. Your first and foremost, your very first hire when it comes to taxes is your tax preparer. We're going to share this as a gift with everyone. So stay tuned and we can continue to have this conversation over the rest of the quarter. The second hire is once you start to generate some revenue in your business and you can afford to bring on a bookkeeper, you want to hire a bookkeeper. And I would recommend leveraging there are AI tools out there. There's something called Simply something. I forget the name of it. It tracks your mileage, it tracks your expenditures, it helps reconcile a few things, but a bookkeeper is your second hire. Your third hire, for those of you who are, you're fully launched in your short-term rental, midterm rental business, you have your W-2 and you're like, okay, I need to figure out how to take advantage of some taxes. And these taxes, guys, are so powerful that they can offset a significant amount of your income. You may not see it on the front end and really understand it right now, but if you're multitasking, come back to me. I'm talking about $100,000 in tax savings, $170,000 in tax savings, $300,000 in tax savings. This is the amount of tax savings that our community have seen, but it doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen on its own. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens with having a real estate tax strategist on your team. Okay, so this is one of the most powerful levers that you can pull. Okay, and from there, if you're in the phase where you're seeing over $500,000 in profits in your business, I'm future pacing for you guys. I'm always future pacing for you. This is where you want to hire a CFO or a controller, something along those lines. And those are the order of the hires. However, I have two separate hires that I'm listing here. You want to hire these next two depending on the transaction. So a cost segregation specialist, you want to hire that individual to come in to do a study on your property after you have purchased the property. If it makes sense, of course, you want to run it by your tax strategist. And a qualified intermediary is who you want to hire before you sell your property. If you're selling an investment property and you're looking to avoid capital gains taxes, then we can dive into all of that a little bit later. But I just wanted to give you the landscape of your tax support team. And when I say hire, guys, we're not hiring these people as full-time W-2 employees in our business. It depends, right? It depends on the level of I would say frequency with which they are working in your business. For me, a tax preparer is working with me once or twice a year. A bookkeeper is working with me monthly, helping me, to track my expenses and giving me access to my P&Ls and going into QuickBooks and helping out there. A tax strategist is working with me once or twice a year as well. And I want to give a caveat. Your tax strategist is not always your tax preparer. If you can have two in one, that is chef's kiss, but a tax strategist is not always your tax preparer. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're working with someone who is real estate savvy. And one of the best ways to do that, just ask them, hey, what's a cost seg? Don't say segregation. Just say, hey, what's a cost seg? If they don't know what that is, run for the hills, okay? Because you're going to leave a lot of money on the table. But the tax strategist, I work with them once or twice a year. My CFO, I actually have a CFO, and I actually work with her monthly to look over everything. Cost segregation, that's that's usually once a year, depending on the transaction. And qualified intermediary, that's if I'm selling, I haven't yeah, if I'm selling, I want to take those funds to buy bigger and better. So it's transactional. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take a pause. We have Ryan Bakey in the house. Ryan, my friend, let me stop sharing my screen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Say hello to the people.
Hello. How are you?
I am good. We've been like chomping at the bit, wanting to get, some tax information out there. I know taxes are on the minds and the hearts of the people right now, my friend.
I would say that I was thinking about this earlier today because I was thinking about you and your story of how you those charts, all the charts that you'd have to do in the office. And the reason why tax strategy is so important is because if you're a doctor and you want to make more money being a doctor, you either have to go learn a higher paying skill set or hire people beneath you or go get a job at a different hospital in order to make money, right? Or just clone yourself and have you work double, right? Which is
Yeah.
impossible. I wish I could clone myself too. The thing
Mhm.
with tax strategy is a lot of business owners and real estate owners are already doing the things that they need to do to save a bunch of money. They just need to put it on paper and apply it. And so business owners own businesses. Real estate investors own real estate. A lot of people think, "Oh, I need to hire a CPA and I need lawyers and I need all these people and pay them tens of thousands of dollars a year to do this." But the rich and wealthy people own businesses just like you, and rich and wealthy people own real estate just like you as well. And so you're doing the right things. You just need to know what are the one or two things that you might need to tweak within your strategy in order to save that amount of money. And so if you could save five figures in taxes just by getting on a phone call with a CPA or a strategist, how much time does that replace you in the operating room, or how much time does that mean you don't have to show up to work and do all these charts, right? And so for for a lot, I guess a lot of the doctors that we deal with, it is both sides. They have tax strategy problems, but they also have a lot of legal structure problems, especially those docs who are self-employed, 1099, or own a clinic. I mean, you are very ripe for lawsuit, right? And so that's why, working with a good strategist along with a good attorney could really benefit you. Um, a key tax planning tool is actually there are benefits that are available to doctors or self-employed people, especially who own the building that their practice is in. Okay. So you might have an office space that, let's say it's 4 units, a commercial office space. You're going to have a holding company that owns that building, and that sole purpose of that holding company is just to collect rent and pay utilities and pay the mortgage. And you're going to charge your business rent, and then of course you're going to be charging rent to maybe the other tenants that are in your building. But that in itself is a tax strategy, because did you know that you can actually use the rental income and loss to offset your business practice? And so that's not even, we haven't even talked about owning a short-term rental yet. We talked about owning a business or a building that your business rents, right?
Wow, that's a bar right there. I love that. And I don't know if Dr. Allison is with us, but she purchases these office buildings. She sets up her surgical procedures in these buildings. I think she does bariatric, and then she rents out the other units,
Mhm.
to med spa types of specialists as well. And so that's definitely something that's worthwhile looking into. That's amazing. And now she's adding the short-term rental to the strategy. So talk about leveraging, right? But something you mentioned a little bit earlier that I thought was interesting, and I don't think I've ever coined this, is you piggyback on the documentation that we were talking about a little bit earlier. And what we know in medicine, and something that we say, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. And so what that reminds me of is what we're going to talk about is a little bit of the material participation test, documenting what it is that we did in order to meet that criteria. So without further ado, let's dive in. Let's dive into this amazing tax strategy that's in legislation now. Hopefully we get back to 100%. But back in 2022, it was 100% bonus depreciation that we had access to for short-term rentals. In 2023, it was 80%. 2024, right now, it's 60%. But the House passed the 100%, y'all, This is why I'm fired up. The 100%, my friend, is back according to the House, but the Senate has to pass it. So that's the only little hang up, but I'm gonna be optimistic that I think that they will pass it. I'm hoping and praying. And I think this is gonna be one of the biggest levers and the biggest gets that we have, for this generation, for those who are working those W-2s again. I remember Jesse and I, Ryan, I don't know if you knew this, but because of our $500,000 in student loan debt, we worked 5 jobs between the two of us doing the Dave Ramsey plan to get out of debt. And so if I could map that out now for my fellow medical professionals, some of them who are brand new attendings, thinking that, oh my gosh, this is quite hopeless, right? If I can map it out, you better believe that real estate investing would have been an earlier start for us for sure. So anyway, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Talk to us, Ryan. What is this tea? What is this craziness that I'm talking about with bonus depreciation? Tell us like we're five. What does all of this mean, my friend?
Yeah. So bonus depreciation is just a fancier term for accelerating the tax benefits that you have on a rental property. So before 2017, you couldn't accelerate tax benefits on a rental property. So let's say if you bought a rental property, you normally get those tax benefits over a long period of time. It's either 27 and a half years if it's a long-term rental or 39 years if it's a short-term rental. What bonus depreciation allows us to do is accelerate some of those tax benefits. So instead of taking them over 39 years, I get to front load those benefits and I get to take them in the first year. And so in 2021, 2022, you could write off 25% of the purchase price of a property in the first year against your W-2 or against your business income. So if I bought a $500,000 property and I'm able to write off 25% of that, that's like $125,000 write-off. Okay. $125,000. Let's say I'm a doctor, I'm in a high tax bracket, so I'm in a 37% tax bracket. That's $40,000 of tax savings that I get back when bonus depreciation was at 100%. And so back then it was so crazy because how much did I need to buy that $500,000 house? 50K. I could put 10% down.
Hello.
You could put 10% down on a property, get a $40,000 tax benefit, and it was like the government was subsidizing 80% of the purchase of your purchase through tax strategy. And so now as bonus depreciation is starting to taper down over the next couple of years, that benefit gets less lucrative. But arguably, if you're in the 30% tax bracket and up, it's still beneficial even at 80 or 60% because of how much the tax savings are there. On that same property, you might not be saving 40 grand in taxes anymore. Maybe you're only saving 25 or 26,000, but it's still a lot of savings. And so the hope is that so the bill's passed, hopefully it becomes a law, and until the end of 2025, we get that 100%, as opposed to currently right now, if you buy a property in 2024, then you're only going to get 60%. And one last thing I would say too is if you are familiar with this strategy and you are still preparing your 2023 tax returns, you might want to consider extending your tax return and waiting to hear whether or not they pass this law or whether or not they sign this into law or not. Because here's why. If you right now, whenever any tax return that you submit right now is going to be with 80% bonus depreciation. So let's go back to my math. If I bought a $500,000 property and I normally can write off 25% of that, well, now I can only do 20% of that. So I'm going to get a less of a benefit than if it was at 100%. Well, the problem is if you file early and then let's say Congress passes the law, you have to go and amend your tax return. The problem is the IRS can take up to a year to process an amended tax return. And so we have a client that's holding on to hers because it's a $17,000 difference. That if she files it now and then they approve 100% bonus depreciation, she has to amend. She's going to get $17,000 more, but she's gonna have to wait an entire year to get that money. And there's going to be so many other people that are amending their returns too, and it could be even longer than a year versus just extending your tax return, waiting to hear back from what Congress does. I hope I simplified that a little bit.
Oh, you did, because at the end of the day, they're going to, for whatever reason, kind of drag their feet. It's like there's no telling when you're going to be in the queue to get your just desserts. Okay, so this is already bringing and I see you, Chad. I see you, Linda. This is already bringing up some great questions. But I feel like you've already level set it us. But I think we're going to have to take a step back. Linda, first of all, wants to know, when do we think the 100% bonus depreciation will be voted on?
Hopefully next week. It's on the
Ooh,
yeah, it's on the calendar.
Linda.
It is on their calendar. So So it's on their calendar and they resume on Monday. So
Oh, that would be really, 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 really good. Okay,
yes.
I absolutely love that. All right, Chad is asking a great question, and I think it's going to require us to have to break this down a little bit more. Chad says, isn't this just off of your rental income? How does this come off of your W-2 if you don't meet professional status? So what Chad is referring to is reps status. Talk to us, Brian.
hmm Yeah. So most of the time, if you have real estate, the joke used to be, I have a joke for you, Rachel. Uh, two doctors own a rental property. What do you call it?
Two doctors on a rental property. I don't know. What do you call it?
A tax shelter. Because
I love
back a
it.
long time ago, if you were a doctor, high W-2 and you own a rental, you used to be able to offset that. And so your rental income used to offset your W-2. Well, that's where this thing called real estate professional status came in because the Congress in the early 90s, they didn't want doctors, lawyers, CPAs, high earning professionals to be able to offset their active income. So that's where they came out with real estate professional status that said, hey, you pretty much have to be full time in real estate, whether you're a broker, an agent, a construction property manager, and you need to own rentals. And that's where sort of the short term rental loophole is coined because there is a specific exception in the tax code that if you rent a property out for 7 days or less, it's not considered a rental. It's actually a business. And then if you are the person that participates the most in that business, meaning that you spend more time than anybody else, you can actually take that loss that you generate, which is a paper loss, not a cash loss. We don't buy real estate to lose money, but on paper, we get to tell the IRS we lost money, and then we get to use that loss to offset our W-2 or our 1099 income.
Love that. So, in other words, Ryan, what you're telling us is we do not need to meet rep status, because if you're working a full-time W-2 as a doc, there's no way the IRS is going to believe that you meet, rep status, right?
Correct.
So maybe a
Yeah.
spouse can, if you have that flexibility, a spouse can meet it, but you won't meet it. There's like it's dead on arrival. You trying to, show them that you meet that status. And so that's why this strategy, guys, is so powerful. This allows us to get the benefits essentially of rep status without having to meet rep status. And it's this short-term rental, quote unquote, exception, short-term rental loophole. It is in the code, and I absolutely love it. It has changed the trajectory of our lives. We're actually building off subject, building property and looking forward to take more and more advantage of that. Okay, but again, you have to meet, you don't have to meet rep status, but you have to meet certain requirements, and you have to meet what is called material participation. So can we break that down a little bit? What does that mean? And why it's important for those of you who are multitasking, come back to me. Why is it important for us when we launch to not necessarily get a full blown property manager in our situation yet? Because we have to meet material participation. We got to get these 100 hours. Ryan, break it down for us, my friend.
So, uh, my dad used to hate me because every time I would go to the dentist, I would have cavities and he would have to pay for them. And I remember one time I'm like, you know what? I'm putting my foot down. This is the end. Like I'm gonna have clean, pearly white teeth. And and then I realized that I had to brush and I had to floss. More so brush, floss, and eat vegetables. And so that's when I thought, well, if I wanted to have these nice clean teeth and my dad stops yelling at me, I need to brush and I need to floss. So it's very similar. If you want these nice tax benefits that the government's going to give you if you qualify, you need to do the dirty work. You need to brush and floss your teeth, which is keeping this time log basically. And so the material participation time log, you have to prove and document that you spend more time than any other person in the property, whether that could be a cleaner, a handyman, a property manager. Because if you have a property manager and you're deducting those property manager payments on your tax return and you try to claim that you qualify, the IRS is going to say, well, you have a property manager. If you claim to do more work than them, then why did you hire them in the first place? Right? You're a doctor over here making 300K a year. Why did why are you messing around? Uh, why would you manage your property yourself? That's why you hire a property manager. And so again, if saving money on taxes is those clean pearly white teeth that I wanted, you have to keep the time log, you have to brush and floss basically. So we actually require our clients to have a time log. It's not that we don't believe you, it's the IRS doesn't believe you. And so we just want to make sure, yeah, we just want to make sure that you're going to qualify to take advantage of this. And that's where the hours tracker comes in.
Yeah, and it's awesome, guys. You could leverage something as simple as a spreadsheet. I'm sure you have spreadsheets, Ryan.
Mhm.
We have a member of our community who created an app, Reps Tracker, as well, that we can use to track those hours. So hopefully you can start tracking because, like we said in the very beginning, if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. Just like in the hospital, if you didn't document it, you didn't give the med, it just didn't happen, according to the IRS. Same story, different scenario. Okay, Chad says, my CPA told me there's something you could write off of regular rentals if you rack up 100 hours of time in the business instead of 750 hours. Chad, I think your CPA is picking up what we're putting down, but Ryan, do you want to dive in and let us know what your
Yeah.
thoughts
So
are?
so
Yeah.
there's so there's a in order to qualify for the strategy, there's an activity test and then there's a participation test. So the activity test is your rental property has to be rented out 7 days or less on average. So if you add up the total amount of days it was rented, let's say I rented my Airbnb out for 150 days and I had 50 different guests come and stay. Well, that if I do 150 divided by 50, that's three. So my average guest stay is 3 days. So as long as it's 7.0 or less, you check box number one, the activity test. The participation test, there's generally two different tests that most people will qualify for. I would recommend if you have three or more properties to try to hit what I call the 500 hours test or the gold standard. Because if you can hit 500 hours across your whole portfolio of short-term rentals, then you don't actually need to keep track of anybody else's time. You just need to keep track of your own time. Now, if let's say you only have one property, well, then you have to move down to a different test, and that's going to be you have to have 100 hours spent working in the property or on the property, and that 100 hours has to be more than any other person. So the next question I get is, well, how do I track that? Well, you need to keep that time log. You need to ask your cleaner, your handyman, whoever for their time. Another trick that I use is I have the Schlage Encode lock, and I give them different key cards. So at the end of the year, I'm able to go online and print out the report for my lock, and I can see how many hours that person was in the property for. So that's what I use to track their time. Is I just give them a different key card to or not key card, the pin code um, to track. And so 500 hours is like the gold standard, but if you can't, it's 100 hours and more than any other person. Now, somebody will say, well, how does it work if there's multiple cleaners? It is actually each individual cleaner's hour. It's not the cleaning company as a whole. It's each individual cleaner. If I have, let's say I have 100 hours, but my cleaner's got 50 and my handyman's got 60. Well, they have over 110 hours combined, but because I have at least 100 and it's more than any individual person, I still qualify. So
Ooh.
yeah, so that talks about that's the activity test, the 7 days or less, and then the participation test is you have to track those hours.
Okay, so that is so good. And for those of you who are looking like, okay, I need to purchase a property this year to take advantage of these strategies we're talking about. Like back in 2022, it was 100% bonus depreciation. 2023 is 80%. Right now, we're at 60%. But what we're talking about is we believe it's going to go back to 100%. And so this is the strategy. So if you're thinking to yourself, I need to go ahead and purchase a property, let me get on this bandwagon now. We're in April, guys. We're in Q2. By Q3, I will tell you my entire mastermind. We are guns a-blazing. Like this construction project had better get finished. Like I am looking forward to get to this 100% sooner rather than later. And the whole setup takes my 100 hours going back and forth. And so I am heavily involved in setting up my property to take advantage of that. But the question that Linda's asking, if you are looking to purchase, would you suggest tracking your hours even during the home search? This is where it gets a little dicey. Tell us the tea on this. So if I'm on Zillow, if I'm trolling through Zillow till 3 in the morning, right? Does that count?
Mhm. Yeah. So, research and education hours are generally not going to count. So, if you don't have a property yet, the time that you spend like on Zillow or researching or doing education, unfortunately, those hours don't count. What does count that a lot of people don't know is generally once you're under contract on a property, then those hours between when you go under contract and then even all the due diligence hours that you use leading up to closing on the property throughout the rest of the year are going to count. So when I go under contract on a property, if I'm talking to lenders, if I'm meeting with inspectors, if I'm meeting with my real estate agent, like those hours are going to count once I'm under contract. Hope that helps.
Love that.
I
Yes.
would I would say another thing too, to your point about the buying like later in the year. Uh, I'm not an economist. I don't prove to be like I do not try to become an economist or say that I am, but everything signals that the cost of stuff is going to be higher in the future. Like the Fed, the Fed came out earlier this year, said they want to raise or they want to lower interest rates 6 times. It looks like they're only going to do it 3 times now. But it like the inflationary pressure is on stuff's going to increase in value. Because if they lower the interest rate, even if interest rates go down 1%, that increases the purchasing power so much. It's almost like the difference between people who can afford a Honda Civic and a Mercedes Benz. That's that's the difference of that 1.5%. And so there's a lot of people that are waiting on the sidelines, just waiting for interest rates to tick down. And that's why I'm a more of a believer of like the best time to buy is right now. The best time to sell is later this year. Because if interest rates do go down, well, now you're gonna be able to sell your property for more money. But if you're a buyer and interest rates go down, sure, your monthly payment might be cheaper, but you're gonna pay more for the property, and there's gonna be more competition because now more people can afford that
Yeah.
purchase price. Yeah.
Yeah, so then we find ourselves in those bidding wars again, where we're putting in contingencies.
I I had a I'll never forget. This was like summer of 2021. I put an offer in on a property in Maggie Valley. There was 24 other offers.
Oh my gosh.
There was like they were like
Maggie
waving
Valley,
all
like you
cash
would think
over
it's
ask.
like
The agent at least was honest with me. They're like, yeah, we'll look at it, but honestly, we saw that your offer was conventional, and we got 7 or 8 cash offers like
oh
ready to go. So I'm like, oh God.
yeah. Yeah. So right. So that's the lever, right? So you risk, yes, you can get a better interest rate, but then you risk all of the competition that comes with it as well. So it's something to consider, guys.
Maybe.
So for those of you who are in the sidelines, definitely take that into consideration. Okay, so Chad wanted to piggyback off of what Linda asked a little bit earlier about was it the home search tracking? But Chad says, well, what about once you have the property, does education count once you have the property? What's the
I
answer to
think
that, Ryan? That's a good question.
I I think it depends exactly what the education is for. So if you're doing these type of hours, like the IRS is not going to give you the hours that count towards helping you save more money in taxes. They will let you write off the cost of a CPA or an event though. That they will let you write off, but they're not gonna give you material participation hours for meeting with your CPA or being on a webinar like this. But what does count is if you're doing research into competitors' listings or other properties. So if I'm doing, let's say I own a property in Scottsdale and I'm looking at my 5 competitors near me, and I'm looking at their amenities, I'm looking at when do they do check-in, check-out, I'm looking at all those things, those type of research hours would count. It's very weird. You could also make the argument that if you have to really count those hours, you're already kind of like tiptoeing across the line there. So I would just try to add everything up, but if you don't really need those hours, then I wouldn't count them. Those kind of gray area hours.
Yeah.
Like this call. This call is great to me because it's not related to the actual management day to day of your property. Versus if I'm looking at my competitor's price or my competitor, what does my competitor's calendar look like? That's research into my competition. So they'll allow that.
Got it. Okay, so Chad, let's look at your competitor's price in a little bit and we'll just kidding. There is gonna come for me. Oh my goodness. Okay, guys, I love all the questions. I feel like Facebook is eating some of the questions up. There was
Exactly.
someone, Ryan, that asked about an S Corp, but now it's gone. I have no idea where it went. Um, Ryan, did you want to take a stab at it? I just remember it saying S Corp. I forgot what the question was. So what are your opinions about S Corps, LLCs, running your business as an S Corp, one way or another? Do you have any strong opinions? Let's
I
just start.
do. I do have very strong opinions. So, if you're gonna own rental properties, so real estate, you collect rent, whether it's long-term rentals, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, you're gonna want that in a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC if you have more than one partner, if you have more than one person owning it. You do not want to hold real estate in corporations like an S corporation or a C corporation because it's very tax disfavorable for you to own real estate in corporations. So think of it like a hotel. So when I was in Nashville, I stayed at the Marriott. So Marriott is going to have they're going to have a holding company that owns the building. Now they might have a restaurant in that Marriott. Well, odds are the restaurant is a business. It's an active trader business. And so active trades or businesses, we do want to use S corps to hold active trades or businesses. So if I'm a realtor, if I'm a doctor, a CPA, a lawyer, pretty much all small service businesses in America are going to be S corporations. And we could do a whole webinar on that too. But think of the Marriott, right? The Marriott's going to have the building that, or the entity that owns the actual building is going to be an LLC, just a regular LLC. The entity that owns the operations inside of it, like the restaurants, the clubs, the dinners, those are probably going to be owned through an S corporation. So, but if you're doing short-term rentals, long-term rentals, mid-term rentals, you shouldn't even think about an S corporation. The S corporation should only be if you're a doctor, if you're, a dentist, if you have a 1099 income that you want to reduce that active income. So, did I
Love that.
explain it? Good. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Linda, for restating that. That's so good. Okay, so guys, if you have gotten some value from what Ryan has been sharing, give me a one in the chat. Can we show some love to Ryan, please? Because he has been just dropping the gems. We're gonna take one more question, Ryan, and I want to wrap up and let people know a little bit about you and what you're going to be doing to get us like on the straight and narrow and get our lives together so we're not out here fighting for look at these ones. I got a one. I got hearts coming. Keep it coming, guys. Let's give Ryan some love. Please. Fire emoji. Yes, with the fire emojis. Please. Yes, yes, yes. Hand claps. Hearts galore. Yes. Okay. So, Ryan, they are picking up what you're putting down because you are dropping some gems. Final question is coming from Manish. Manish says, hello, Ryan. How do STR advantages work if they are bought using a fund and some investors are actively managing properties and others are passive? Manage. Man, is you coming in. Do the passive investors get to write off tax losses in same year?
Mm, good
That's a good one,
question.
right?
Yeah. So most of the time, if you're investing passively into any, if you're investing into a fund and you don't do any work, and maybe you're just a limited partner, you're not going to be able to use those losses that you get allocated against your active income. Now, what is nice is that you can use those losses against your other passive income. And this is the core reason why they say that Warren Buffett pays less in taxes than his secretary does. It's not because he makes less. It's not because he makes less money than she does or pays less in taxes. It's because the type of income that he makes, it's all passive, whether it's his businesses or his rentals. And so all he needs is passive losses. Maybe Warren's investing in a bunch of syndications and hotels, and maybe he's buying all of our properties. But he just needs losses that are passive in order to offset his other passive income. So as an LP investor, I can offset my other passive income. So rentals that I own, I can offset passive businesses. I have a couple CPA friends where we're like, hey, I'll give you some money. Let me be a passive investor in your business. Then I can use my rentals to offset that K1 that I get. So there's a lot of stuff you can
Mm.
do. Oh yeah.
Mm.
So
I you've been holding out on me. Wait, everyone, nobody breathe. Nobody breathe. Ryan, my friend, what?
hmm Okay, so if you
Interesting.
invest in a clinic and you're a passive investor in the clinic, you don't run the day to day, somebody else does. The income that you get from the K1 is passive, and you can use your rental losses, whether it's your short-term rentals, your midterm rentals, your syndication with Manish. It doesn't matter where the loss comes from, is you can if they're passive, you can offset them together.
So good.
Okay,
Guys,
but you can't take it against your W-2 or your business income or
right,
against
while you're active.
your active, right? Versus the people that are going to be managing the fund day to day,
Mm-hmm.
those are most likely going to be real estate professionals, and those people that are actively involved in the day to day are
Mm-hmm.
most likely going to be able to use their loss to offset their um, W-2 or business income. So,
Mm. So good. So good. And you see, guys, this is why I wanted to bring Ryan on board to share this with you. And we're going to continue to dive deeper into these tax strategies. We have Yona Weiss that's going to be joining, and we're going to share on the cost segregation studies. He has the engineering business that takes the look and does the actual study. We have a few other tax experts that will be coming into the space to share with you, because at the end of the day, guys, no one ever taught me this. I never sat at a table at dinner. My parents didn't tell me how to do financial literacy. We didn't have a ton of finances to literate upon, right? This is another level of conversation. And I wanted to make sure I brought in the guns, the top tier strategists in this space. So remember a little bit earlier, I shared with you a table where I talked about the importance of having a tax preparer and a tax strategist, and they're not usually the same people. But what Ryan has, Ryan, I didn't even give you a chance to introduce yourself to the people. Can you please introduce yourself to the people? Tell them a little bit about yourself. I would love them to join your Facebook group as well, so that Manish, if you need some follow-up questions, Ryan, what I love about him is he has the heart of a teacher, so he's always educating about these specific strategies. Dive into his Facebook group, all things taxes, all things, he's got all the goods. Definitely dive in with him, but he's got some stuff coming down the pike in May that I want you to tap into as well.
yeah, I started off kind of a lot similar. I wanted to scale the corporate ladder and become like a CEO or a C-level executive. And so I started my career working at Deloitte. So I did investment management tax. We helped investment banks and stuff set up a bunch of entities, whether it was in the United States or offshore, to save a bunch of money on taxes. And I realized that I was helping people who were already extremely rich and wealthy become even more rich and wealthy. And it was halfway in that I decided that I didn't want to help the everyday person, but I wanted to help the person and their family that was going to change their family tree. So that's when I decided to start doing this on the side and like I was moonlighting. I was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, just like a lot of people here are today are, right? like Rachel, sometimes I've had either clients or I've done events like this where there's like a doc in the room. I'm like, are you in the operating room right now? Like they got the surgeon mask on. I'm
Yes.
like, well, wait, like that's how bad people want it. Those are
Yeah.
the people that I want to help. Like those people that want to change their family tree
Yeah.
are the ones that I feel directly called to serve. And so that's
Yeah.
why I had left my corporate job a little, actually, it probably is almost 30 months from now. So two
Yeah.
and a half years that I had left the corporate grind to teach real estate investors full time how to save money on taxes. And why? So that you can keep more of the hard-earned dollars that you make. Because like I said, if you want to go, Rachel, if you wanted to make another, what did you save in taxes in 2022? Do you remember?
I want to say 170-ish.
Okay, how many more hours would you have had to spend as a doctor to make that 170?
Oh my goodness. I didn't calculate it, but
Okay.
that's a whole full time, another full
Okay.
time. If I want to bring that home, yeah, that's a whole full-time
Right.
job right there. Yeah.
Exactly. And so
Hmm.
that's what I'm getting at is there's so much on the table if you have your hands in a lot of cookie jars, right? If you're a doc, especially if you're a self-employed doc, if
Yeah.
you own, if you own rentals, like there's all these strategies that people can utilize and you're already doing 75% of the work. You already own the businesses, you already run the jobs, and you already own the rental properties, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
So what I and so that's what I've been called to do. And so fast forward 70,000 followers on all platforms. We got a Facebook group, Tax Strategies for Real Estate Investors, with over 10,000 real estate investors in there. Go check it out. Don't want to steal the thunder away from Rachel's group. Um,
No, no. Listen, like I said, you're the expert. My other option was I was gonna go to tax strategy school to figure it out. And I said, you know what? That's not what I'm called to. God never said I had to go to tax strategy school and become a CPA or an enrolled agent or if let me bring in the guns. Let me bring in the top people who are already doing it at the highest possible level into the group because the conversations that we're having right now is definitely at a different level. And I'm looking to bring on the experts and I value your expertise. And that's why you're here, my friend. So for sure. So in other words, don't come at me, guys. When you have these tax questions, do not come to me with them. Go to Ryan with these tax questions. I can give you a high level. I can tell you how much we saved, and that's it.
mhm. Yeah, but it's not looking at what is obviously it's looking at what is saved, but it's like what would you have had to do to earn that?
Yeah.
Because for some people it might not be $170,000 of savings, it might only be 30,000, but still,
Yeah.
that's a part-time job. That's like a lot of money that can be saved just by you learning how to implement a strategy. And that's what I'm going to be doing in early May at my tax strategy boot camp. We got 2 full days of tax strategy and planning. So if
Yeah.
you got a lot of value out of the 30 minutes that we've just spent here today, we're going to be talking about tax strategies for 2 full days.
Yeah.
2 full days. There's going to be like 25 different tax strategies that we are going to be talking about and going through. Long-term rentals, short-term rentals, business owners, midterm rental loophole, which is a new one we talked about. Yep, yep. Midterm rental loophole. That's a new one. So there's going to be all these strategies to where there's easily going to be something there that you're going to implement in your business or in your real estate that's going to save you a ton of money. And we're going to link that event here in the notes. And it's a passion of mine, right? Like there's people that are getting, I don't want to say robbed blind by the government. That's a bad term, but there's maybe not, but there's a lot of people that are giving the government way too much money. On average, the average real estate investor is spending $8,000 a year more in taxes than they should.
Mm.
This is based on the returns that we review sometimes before people even own real estate. They're spending an extra $8,000 in
Oh
taxes
my
before they even own real
gosh.
estate. And of course the government doesn't want you to know about it because then they would not have any revenue collected. Once everybody finds out about the tax code, they'll just like double or triple the tax rate. That's what they'll do. So,
Yeah, and
but yeah,
it's on
Mhm.
them, right? It's on them to make sure that they can collect as much as possible. But I think we have a responsibility too. If we have these hopes, if we have these dreams, if we have the balance that we're trying to achieve in our family, it is on us to to partner with those who can help us figure out how to leverage our time in the best possible way, how to get back that time freedom, how to get back into alignment. So it is our responsibility, guys, because these things do not happen by accident. They don't happen overnight. It's, leveraging the skills of tax strategists and tax preparers like Ryan and his team.
Mhm. Yeah, and the event is it's not there to, like you said earlier, you're not wanting to learn to become a CPA. That's not what the event is for. The event is to just we're gonna plant all these seeds and give you all these ideas. Some of them you're gonna implement, like some of them you're gonna use. Like, oh, I did this last year. I definitely can use that. Or maybe some of them you don't, you may not benefit from, but you probably do know somebody that will. Um, like for example, I'll never forget this when I spoke at the STR Wealth Conference. You spoke that year too, I think in 2022, the first
Yep.
one.
Yep. And
Um,
the second one.
and the second one,
Yep.
there was a guy, his name's Matt. I won't put him on full on blast, but
Hmm.
I was washing my hands or I had just washed my hands in the bathroom, and this guy walks in and he's like shaking my hand. He's like, "What's going on, Ryan?" He goes, because I listened to your podcast on the difference between fixing and flipping versus buying and holding, it saved me $18,000 in taxes last year. $18,000. And then I joked with him and I said, okay, great. Where do I send the invoice to?
Yeah, there you go.
But
I
that's
love
the
it.
that's like I can't fathom enough. It's just that's the true power of it. It's like a 13-minute podcast
Yeah.
that I just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna record this podcast today and see who benefits from it. It's like
Yeah.
that's the that's the energy that I'm trying to put in the world and what we're gonna try to do at this boot camp in early May.
Love that. Love that, guys. So, for those of you who are here with us, oh my goodness, I hope you grab that link, have a look at it. We're going to drop the link for the free Facebook group as well. So,
Yeah.
guys, let's stay connected and let's continue this conversation because we want to start planting the seed and planning ahead. Tax strategy doesn't happen at the last minute, guys. You kind of got to plan for it. So, let's do that. Let's go all in on that. And I do have our first, second, and third place winners for those who shared in the group, shared with others, invited others into the group. First place, we've got Catalina Vasquez. Catalina, congratulations. You will have access to an amazing training, our signed copy of Hospitable Host, and some amazing swag. Next up, we have Sylvia Santelli, your second place winner. Massive congratulations to you as well. You'll get access to the free intro to the Midterm Rental Masterclass workbook, signed copy of Hospitable Host, as well as swag. And last but not least, we have Amy Frazee. Congratulations, congratulations, guys. This is what this is all about. We are looking forward to ensuring that we spill the tea inside of the group and we make sure that we're all rising together. They said that rising tide lifts all boats. So if I get the tea, you will get the tea as well. So Catalina, Sylvia, Amy, please email community@shorttermgems.com, community@shorttermgems.com with your mailing address to claim your prizes. I look forward to getting your hands on these amazing prizes. I can't thank Ryan enough for joining us a little bit earlier. He popped off. Guys, thank you for joining us tonight. I love you all to the moon and back, and I look forward to seeing you soon.